Today we're going to continue looking at earthquakes. What I have on the screen for you is a map showing the average earthquakes that hit a place like California. Remember that California is on a plate boundary. And you can see that over the course of a week, that would be the yellow dots, they have lots of earthquakes. In fact, this map says there were 217 earthquakes in that week. But the size of the dot tells you how big the magnitude, the strength of the earthquake. And you can see most of them are ones and even some twos. And remember that humans do not really feel those. Ones and twos are only felt by the machines, seismographs. You can see there are a couple of threes, and those would have been strong enough to maybe have people feel it and notice it. Here you can see that California has so many earthquakes because it is a fault. A fault is where we have a crack in the ground and it's where two plates are interacting. It's a boundary. So we remember Juan de Fuca was what caused all the volcanoes. Here we have the Pacific plate and the North American plate sliding past each other. And this crack in the ground is called the San Andreas Fault. It is why they get so many earthquakes. There's another shot of the San Andreas. You can see the crack right in the ground. This runs through the majority of California. Now, just for fun, I typed in Indiana to see how many earthquakes Indiana has in a week. And instead of giving me a week, we have so few earthquakes that it gave me 6 months. 6 months worth of earthquakes. And you can see there really weren't any within the last week, especially not in Indiana. But what kind of jumps out at me are these little pockets of earthquakes. Why do we get earthquakes if there's no plate boundary? The reason why is that the rivers can sometimes move sediment and cause the earth to tremble. But most people don't realize there was a very big fault that has triggered gigantic earthquakes. And it is called the New Madrid Fault. It's in Missouri. It's near the Mississippi River. In the middle of a plate, that is a little bit weird. So this is called an earthquake risk map. And you can see that in California, we expect there to be big earthquakes. But right here near Missouri, a lot of people don't realize there's a chance for a big earthquake. Now, the last time we had a big earthquake here was 1895. And you can see it was a magnitude 6. And they could feel this earthquake in all of these states. And even all along these riverbeds, there was major damage. Now, in 1895, we didn't have big buildings. So there wasn't much to fall down or get hurt. But if we had a quake this big or bigger, a 7 or an 8, we would actually see a lot of damage in the Midwestern United States. We don't build for earthquakes. Now in California, they do build for earthquakes. And their rocks are able to slow down the earthquake waves. They don't go as far. And so it's not as dangerous of a zone for as far of an area. But this magnitude 6.7 did do quite a bit of damage in 1994. And I'll show you next week some pictures from that one. This one did actually kill some people as well. All right, so a big difference between earthquakes at the plate boundary and this big fault called New Madrid in the middle of the plate. Next week, we will look at famous earthquakes. All right, have a good weekend. Stay warm.